another episode of Earthworks Hub. I have a guest with me today by the name of Jack Healey, and he's from EMBE Hire. So he'll explain what that stands for in a second. But I just want to welcome you to the show, Jack.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, good to be chatting with you.
Yeah, that's it, man. Thank you. So we initially met over social media. So we're both obviously following each other on Insta and other channels. And we both said that we'd be at the Diesel Dirt and Turf at the same time. And then, if we had a chance, we'd catch up. And we did. So it worked out really well that we caught up. And then as a result, here we are.
Yeah, ruined your lunch good and proper, didn't I?
I was actually right in the middle of eating that pizza, and then you came over, and then I felt really. No, it wasn't a pizza. What was it? It was one of those Turkish gozlums, whatever they're called. That's right. Yeah, and then I was thinking, I don't want to be rude and keep eating, but I was like, it's going to be cold. So what do you do, man? What do you do?
$36 each anyway.
Oh man, how expensive was the food there? Huh?
Oh, not as dear as the frozen Cokes. Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
Had to catch up with one of them finance Sheilas running around first, so you get one.
Yeah, true. I think I was there for the 3 days, and I think I spent a lot of money just on food and drinks because it was a scorcher, and then I just had to keep hydrated. But very, very pricey.
Oh, well, it's part of it, I suppose. And it's no different than any other event you go to, is it? You sort of expect it, I suppose, don't you? You're not going too far out of the way to go anywhere and get something else, so you just deal with it, don't you?
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's the convenience you pay for, yeah.
100%.
It was good, though. I think overall, in my opinion, I think it was really good. That was my first Diesel Dirt and Turf. What was your opinion?
Yeah, really good. Good to see it back to where it was, sort of thing. Like I reckon last year and maybe possibly the year before was a bit smaller. I don't know whether switching venues or the weather might have had something to do with that. I'm not sure, but definitely bigger and better this year. So that's good to see again.
Yeah, they had a fair few people. I noticed it did die off a little bit towards the end of most days, and some of the stall holders were saying that they finished up a little bit earlier than usual, but they still said that there was a good outcome.
Yeah, I think this year everyone was sort of saying that, or everyone that I spoke to was sort of saying that Sunday was going to be their busy day for traders because everyone was sort of, because of the wet weather up Sydney way, they were sort of all working Saturdays and Fridays. They don't really get their trade through on Friday like they normally would. But, everyone seemed pretty happy that I was talking to, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. And all the kids were grabbing all the freebies. All the store holders were stressing out, going, they're just going to take everything.
Clean us out. There'll be nothing left for someone who is going to buy something.
Yeah, that's right. But you never know. They're the future. They might be swayed into it. So it's good. They got to get something,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and if that's your only day off, you've got to make the time for your family and take them with you, don't you? So it's part and parcel with it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And then something else that's actually really funny is that the world is so small that after we spoke and decided we'll do a podcast together, I had a phone call from a friend that actually moved up to Echuca not long ago, and he said, I had this guy doing some work for me, and he says that he knows you. And then, lo and behold, it was you. So what a small world.
Yeah, it is a small world. He reckons you're no good on dirt bikes. I don't know whether there's any truth to that or not, but that's what he reckons. But, he's not a bad bloke, old Mark.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. We used to actually do a lot of dirt bike riding together. That's how I met him originally. These guys are pretty passionate about their dirt bike riding. Like they go nearly every single weekend, or if not, every few days. So for someone like me that doesn't ride that often, when I go out with them, they punish me. Yeah, there's no mercy.
Take advantage of your lack of fitness.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. So no, good guy, good family. But they moved up to Echuca, and obviously you did some work for him. So that probably leads me to the next thing. So obviously Echuca, what does EMBE stand for?
So EMBE is Echuca, Moama, Bobcat and Excavator Hire. So Echuca and Moama are twin towns on the border in southern New South Wales, northern Victoria. So that's what that stands for, and we've just sort of abbreviated it back to EMBE just for ease of paperwork and everything else because, it's about 6 foot long if you spell the whole lot out.
Yeah. The smaller stickers on the machines as well then.
Yeah. So on a budget, saving a few bucks.
Yeah, that's it. And what about, can you give us a bit of history on so is that your own business or how does it work?
Yeah, yep, that's my own. We started in 2015. Used to work for a fella in town here, and then we decided we'd go out on our own and have a crack at it, and here we are.
There you go. And obviously I see your posts and sort of know what you have, but can you just let the listeners know what machinery you have at the moment?
Yeah, yep. So we've got a Cabalco SK75 8-ton digger and a T590 track loader, and just it's actually an international legal rigid tipper and a float. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. And the 8-tonner, is that one of the offset arms, is it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it is. Sort of just shows that because of the environment we work in and going from a 5-tonner to a bigger machine, we just sort of wanted to stay nice and compact, and the ability to be able to throw the boom beside the cabin and pull the bucket up over the roof of the cabin and swing inside yourself is like really the go. So that's where we ended up with that.
Yeah. No, they are the good machines, versatile, and I suppose they're big enough to do the work of something close to a 12 or 15-ton machine, and then small enough to fit where a little 5-tonner can usually fit.
Yeah, definitely best of both worlds. Run like a 1500 mud bucket on it, so yeah, it's pretty comparable to a 12 or a 14-tonner in bucket size and volume. It lets you know about it if you're trying to do something wrong with it.
Yeah, is that full zero swing or minimal swing?
I think it hangs out the back about 190 mil, so yeah, it's pretty close. And then the front of the cab, like the front left-hand corner, just swings out probably nearly the same, I reckon. But yeah, the rest of it, you can tuck the hitch right up over the top of the cabin and be back in line with that. So yeah, the worst case scenario, you're hanging out 200 sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least it's not too much though. I know. Like I've been recently working in the basement, and I enjoy having the zero swing machine, and with an offset boom and all that, because it makes a big difference when you're swinging up against walls and in tight spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. Versatility is key, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And what other sort of equipment have you owned in the past? Like, or is this your first equipment?
No. So we had, I think it was digger number 9, I think. So we've had a few Bobcat diggers and a couple of Caterpillar diggers before this one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And are they all like around that same size? Like, is there a reason that you picked these size machines?
So the Cats were all 1.7 tonners and the Bobcats were all 5 tonners. Because we started off with a 5 and then ended up with a 1.7 not long after that, just for just chasing a bit of extra work, I suppose, when you first start up. And then we sort of transitioned into just one machine now because I've only got one bum, and you sort of can't be across them all the time, can you?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, and it's a trap a lot of guys can fall into. Like people keep saying, "Oh, if you had a 1.7, you could do all the tight access for us. If you had a tipper, you could take soil away." And then you start buying things to try and like please people, and you think, "I'll get a bit of extra money," but you can't be in all of them all the time, isn't it? It's hard.
Yeah, and it always seemed to be that you'd always park the dearest one up to work the cheapest one, and it sort of doesn't really work like that, because you can't afford to work for less money to keep paying for the other one, because unfortunately they all need paying for. So, yeah, and to be honest, since we've made that transition, we're doing more hours in one machine, but we're not doing any less hours total for the year as such. Like we're definitely better off.
Yeah. No, I agree. Even up until recently, I had the last couple of machines I've come down to my Posse and my 5, and I got rid of the Posse recently, and now I'm realizing that obviously I'm sitting in the 5-tonner more often, but I'm not worried about now which machine I'm going to be in or which one's going to not be working, and then floating both of them around. And that's like you say, you've only got one bum, and sometimes it's easier for me just to, because I don't have a float or a truck anymore. I got rid of everything, so just the 5. And then when I had the Posse with it, it was just trying to float them around and get them onto combo jobs and this and that was just a bit difficult.
Yeah, it's probably a bit different in the city too, I suppose. Like in the country, you sort of, my skid steers 9 years old and it's just cracked 2,000 hours, but my digger's only 2 years old and it's done 4,000 hours. But the trade-off is that sometimes that 30 or 40 hours on a job with the skid steer might pick you up 200 for the digger. So you sort of can't afford to get rid of it, but you couldn't afford to have a new one at the same time either. Like, yeah.
But what type of work would you predominantly say that you do?
So probably the most prominent thing I could pick is intersection work, whether it be with bigger mobs, subcontracting to them for like Vic Roads or Transport for New South Wales or whatever. We did the bridge project in Echuca. We were on that for 3 years. We done a big job in Bendigo on the main drag on the way in. We were there for 2.5 years. We just finished another one in Bendigo last week. We were there for 8 or 9 months. So I'd say intersection work predominantly, but I'm happy to take on anything in the middle to keep myself busy. I'd prefer to be on those bigger jobs, but yeah, you still got to pay the bills, eh?
Yeah, that's fair enough. And what about workers? Have you ever had any workers, or do you have any at the moment?
Yeah, we had earlier on, like early days. I suppose you go out on your own and you get all excited, you think you're going to take on the world, and you try and, I had 5 machines and truck, and I had a bloke on for a while, and I just found that it wasn't me. It wasn't that it was him, it was me. I didn't want to be the boss. I didn't like paying wages every week. It wasn't for me. I'm not the boss, mate. I just want to drive. I don't want to do any thinking. I don't want to drive around the ute and chase work all day, every day. I want to dig. So.
Yeah, that's really good. It's good to hear that someone is self-aware and knows what they want. Because a lot of times we follow what everyone else does, and we think, you got to keep getting bigger and put more and more guys on, and then we think there's a bit of a dream there that you'll eventually get out of the machines and just quote jobs. But I think it never really happens. I mean, maybe at a certain point, I always talk about this tipping point, but maybe at a certain point you can step out a bit and put supervisors on and stuff. But that's a fair way down the track. And then you need to actually know whether you want to be a boss or if you want to be just your own boss on your own. So it's good that you're self-aware like that.
I think you've got to be, because you like you say, you can fall into that trap of just trying to cock off with everyone else around you and be bigger and better. But yeah, you just got to find what works for you and what makes you happy. And sitting in the digger at the moment makes me happy. That might change. I don't know, but yeah, at the moment that's where we're at, and I'm happy to do it all myself because I've got a pretty high standard of how I look after my gear, and it's just easier when you're on your own, I suppose. You only got one bloke to blame if you scratch the back of it, eh?
Yeah, very true. It's funny you say how you take care of your machine, because the guy Mark that moved to Echuca was telling me that when you delivered the machine and it was at the front, he actually said to his wife, "I think that's a brand new machine out there." And then he got talking to you and you told him it's how old did you say it was? How old is that one?
Would have been a couple of years old, that one, yeah.
Yeah, because he goes, I went and told her, this guy's got a brand new machine. And then he said, when you spoke to you, you said to him, no, it's a couple of years old already.
Yeah, no, just try and, I don't know, it's a representation of your business as far as I'm concerned. So you do your best to look after it. And I think people do respect it, and they do appreciate it. When you take something clean and tidy there and it hasn't got shit hanging all over it and it's not missing bits and pieces, they're happy to let you work in their backyard or up against their house or whatever,
And I really appreciate that you and that you recognise that like where you want to be. And do you ever see the future? Like in the future, can you see yourself putting people on and that, or do you want to just continue as it is?
I'm probably pretty happy and content doing what I'm doing. In saying that, we're doing a little bit of property development of our own at the minute, very slowly, but we are doing it. And I think the future probably holds selling all the gear and building some more factories and perhaps going and working for someone else again, just to chill out a bit,
You know what's funny you say that? I'm probably on a similar path myself, man. Same thing. I just also doing a little bit of development in the background and downsizing my machines so that I have that flexibility. I suppose that's what it is, and the ability to choose whether I want to go in to work today or tomorrow, or if I've got something else on, I can say, you know what, I'll schedule a day to catch up on some other stuff. Whereas I find that when I've got all my own equipment, I feel like I have to keep going into work and I have to keep those things going. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's not even the Monday to Friday. It's probably more the Saturday and Sunday that's starting to wear thin a bit on me. Like I've got a young family and that now, and you know, to work a machine 5 or 5.5 days a week still requires you to lay underneath it for half or 3/4 a day every week. You know, to keep it in good condition and keep the maintenance up to it and all that sort of stuff. Because I'm a big believer of look after it and it'll look after you. So you've got to spend that half a day, 3/4 of a day a week just making sure everything's spot on. You know.
Yeah, and it's true because I usually like to keep all my stuff pretty clean, and then as you get busier and you get more guys and you're floating around looking for jobs, and you sort of forget about maintaining the machines as well. So some of my stuff towards the end is faded, there's scratches on them, and I don't like it. I can't. Every time I look at something, I think, oh, that's not me. You know, like it's not the way I like it to be.
Yeah, no, I'm no different. I've been in that position before, even just by myself, not even having blokes on. You know, you work 7 days a week for 2 or 3 months straight, and yeah, you pull up and get a wet day, and you're like, Jesus, I've got some work to do here. Like this is knackered, that's worn out. I need to change these. These are fucked. Like you can spend a week in the shed, and you're just like, oh, well, how did I let it get so bad? What have I done?
Yeah, no, it's true. It is true. And that's what a lot of people that start this type of business probably don't see until later on, that there are a lot of unpaid hours involved, time where you're maintaining machines after hours, or you're doing quotes, or your invoices, or your paperwork, or, chasing other things down on parts. And yeah, there's a lot of these unpaid hours, floating machines around, picking stuff up. There's a lot of this unpaid time.
Yeah, 100%. And the other side of it too is, it doesn't matter how much money you make, and you could be paying someone to maintain your gear for you during the week, but it's downtime. So if you're busy, you haven't got time for someone to come and service your machine, even if it's under warranty and it's free or it's cap price or whatever. You haven't got that time to let them have it in the middle of the day on a Wednesday for 5 hours. Like you just haven't got it. So yeah, it's either at night after work or it's on Saturday or Sunday. Like it's just got to be done.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the other thing is that, yeah, if the customer really needs it there and you say, I've got to stop the machine for a service, they might get somebody else, or sign you off. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, that, and it's loss of time. If you're fully booked and the service is meant to take 2 hours and you allow 3 or 4 and it takes 6 or 7, or they're running late or whatever, like you lose that day during the week. You're knackered. You never catch it back up, do you? Like it's a trap.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And yeah, my wife always says I'm a bit of a yes man. So I always say, like, that's it. I'm not taking any more jobs on. The next guy that rings, I'm not doing it, or I'm not going in on Saturday anymore. And then Friday night, I'll get a phone call, and she'll be sitting next to me, and then I'll say, yeah, I'll be in. And she's like, just looking at me from the side, shaking the head, going, I knew you'd take it. I knew you wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I've got one of them too, eh? They must all come out of the same mould, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon. No, yeah, that's a very, very common thing, I reckon. Yeah, because you think, one thing that I always say is, take the work while it's there. So you always fear that there might not be work after a while, but the thing is, there's always work. Yeah, something always comes up anyway. So it's just, yeah, it's a bit of a myth in some way.
It's it's a constant thing in the back of your head, and I think I'm getting better at dealing with that. I was really bad at it at the start. I'd take on any little job, no matter how small it was, just so that I had work to go to. But now, as I'm getting a bit older and wiser, I suppose, you just sort of like, yeah, no, it'll be right. Like I've got a couple of months in front of me. Like I won't take that job on Saturday because I just don't need it. Like it's not because you're being arrogant or rude. You haven't got time because you haven't got time. There's something always bigger and better always pops up, sort of thing. So you got to make sure you've got room for that too, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That probably leads me to the work-life balance conversation. Like, how do you balance between, home and obviously you're saying family and stuff. So how do you balance all that time between yourself and work?
That's a good question, because if you ask my wife, she'd probably have a different answer. But I'm I'm trying to allocate Sundays now that I don't work, or if I do, I go out to the yard at 5:30 or 6 o'clock and just do till 10 o'clock or something and have the rest of the afternoon off. I find that at the moment we still can't quite catch what we've already got, so having Saturdays off every week is not really an option. But yeah, I'm getting better at it. I'd like to think that in a perfect world I'd work 5.5 days a week, have everything washed, filled, greased, ready on the float by 4 o'clock Saturday Arvo and have all day Sunday off, but I haven't quite got it planned well enough to get that to happen yet.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough gig. What do you do if you want to go away? Like if you want to go on holidays or something, like what do you do in that circumstance for I suppose, to help people that are also in the same boat?
I think at the end of the day, you've just got to book it and go. If you don't book it, you'll be waiting for the right time and it never pops up. And even when you do book it, it always seems to come at the worst time. But you just, if you're going somewhere for something, just go. Don't worry about it, because the work will still be there. If you're working for good blokes, they'll wait a week while you're gone or whatever. Or you can plan for that. They can plan to get someone else in for a couple of weeks while you're gone, or you can tee up someone, one of your mates that you work in with a bit or something to take the load off or whatever. But you just have to plan and go. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And my wife's a big advocate of that. She just tells me, that's it, I've booked this and we're going, because she knows if she left it up to me, I'd be like, yeah, we'll book it next week, or yeah, I'll book it the week after, and it just never happens.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I'm getting better at that too, I think. The first few years we just sort of, I suppose you worry about spending money while you're on holidays and not having any come in because you're by yourself. But yeah, if you book it 12 months out and you plan for it and budget for it, then you just go away. It's already done. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Let's talk, I suppose we'll change it up a bit. Let's talk about attachments. So I noticed on some of your posts you got a big bunch of attachments. What have you got at the moment?
Probably a better question, what don't I have if we're talking about the digger? We've sort of got everything. We've got vibe plate, jackhammers, grabs, augers, sort of from 150 mil up to 1500 in 50 mil increments. So there's a swag of them. Brooms, I think I've got 26 buckets. What else is there? There's a wood splitter for the digger. There's a heap of stuff there, all random stuff.
Yeah. What would be your favourite attachment, you reckon?
Probably one of the most simple ones, and you're probably starting to see a few of them now. Just the broom on the end of the digger. The stuff you can do with that is incredible, eh? Like topsoil and cleaning stuff out of curb that's fresh, and gone are the days of rubbing your bucket and your mud bucket on footpath to try and clean something up, or try and just skim across the top of the footpath so you don't damage it after it's fresh stuff on a subdivision. Just sweep it off, eh? Like, unreal.
Yeah. I always look at labourers still brooming and sweeping and scraping, and I think, well, if you just got a broom on the end of your excavator, you'd easily be able to just broom that off, do the topsoil at the same time, clean the curves all in one shot.
Yeah, and even, like doing new subdivision stuff, like you can go straight over all the Telstra pits, all the sluice valves. You don't mess them up. They're clean as you go past them, and you've topsoiled around them. You haven't had to get out on the rake or nothing. It sounds lazy, but it's probably more productive than it is lazy.
Yep. And like I was saying, that's one less labourer that they've got to pay for if they're looking at money.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you can, sometimes that sells it to them because they don't have to send anyone with you. You can just go along by yourself, and they can dump the stuff where they reckon you're going to need it, and you're just a one-man band cruising along behind them. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's good. Also, I noticed the MOBA T-shirt, and I noticed that you did a bit of a spiel on one of your socials for them. What's the story with them? Are you using that equipment?
Yeah, we are. We sort of, I won't lie, we purchased Earthworks, Trimble Earthworks, and then when we got this new 8-tonner, and they just couldn't deliver it. It was sort of at the end of COVID there, and they said it was going to be 9 weeks, and it ended up they said it was going to be 9 months. So we started exploring other options, and spoke to Daniel a few times up in Melbourne there at MOBA, and sort of didn't really give it too much of a second thought, to be honest, because I'd never heard of it. But then, when we couldn't get hold of Earthworks, and it was sort of the only one at that time that was offering 3D, 2D, and infield design, like all those three options were available on the motor system, and they weren't available on all the other brands other than Earthworks at that stage. That a lot of them have caught up now, but at that stage, so yeah, we started looking down that path, and yeah, really happy.
Yeah, no, good. And how often do you use that?
I would use that probably 90% of my day, every day. Just, if we can get a design, we use the design. If not, we make an infield one all the time, even like we're doing a retaining wall job at the minute, and just for the simple bench, rather than setting up the laser because there's trees and all sorts of stuff everywhere. Like, yeah, just bang in a height and away you go. Like it's a very simple design that we're using at the moment, but it saves a bloke. It saves setting up a laser. You just take the digger with you and away you go. Like, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have got a long way to go when it comes to that sort of technology because, a lot of guys still haven't even touched a GPS machine or an automated machine or guided machine. So they don't know the full advantage of it yet. But I think once everyone's sort of getting on there, and it is interest is increasing. A lot of people are doing that. I think it's just going to be the way. It's going to be just a given that people have that in their machines in the future.
Yeah, we don't. Oh, I was going to say we don't get it, but we don't charge any more for it because I don't believe I'd get it. A lot of jobs that we do, blokes would be like, "Oh, I'll just set my laser up," because it's, you're sort of in that domestic commercial environment, I suppose. Like the big roads jobs we do, like it's no brainer. They're happy to pay for it because they're using it. They've got designs for their stuff, and it makes sense to use it on those jobs. But even to go and do a house slab, which we don't do many of them now, but if we do, like you just set a design with a flat height, they can still go around and mark all their lines with lime or paint or whatever, but they don't have to have someone chasing you with the laser all day. It's in there. It's done. Anywhere I go on that job for the whole day, I don't have to move. I don't have to catch a laser. I don't have to bench. It's in there. It's done. It's unreal.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. It's good. Yeah, very good. And do you think a lot more of the smaller machines are going to start also adapting and having that?
I think it's one of them things like it probably doesn't make sense financially to put it on small machines because, you're spending, 70 or 80 grand on GPS and you're putting it on a machine that's only worth 100 grand. Like to a lot of people, that probably doesn't add up. But the way I see it is it's a 10-year investment. So it's only 10-year, like $10,000 a year plus your subscription. I mean, you're going to pay that no matter what brand or shape or way form you go about that. But, I'm hoping that the technology that I've brought, because I've invested in it when it's just been released, I'm hoping that we get 10 years or so out of that technology before it's outdated as such, and I can sort of justify it that way.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID just a bit before. Interesting you mentioned that because I was going to ask you. So obviously in the regional towns in Victoria, you had some different rules to the metro cities. What effect did that have on you? How did you manage through COVID?
So we were really lucky. We just started the bridge job here, and we're all on the new south side, which is where I live at the minute. So we didn't have to go anywhere because the job itself was literally 200 metres from where my house. Like I could see my digger every night. But we did do some work on the Victorian side during that period too. And the worst part about the regional side of it for us was because we had two different states, we had two different sets of rules. And to get across the bridge, there was two checkpoints, one either side. That was a 3 or 4 hour mission to go across the bridge. And some things we don't have on one side of the border to the other. Like we don't have a hospital on this side of the bridge. So if you had to go to hospital, you had to fill out a permit, line up for 4 hours to go across the bridge just to, do stuff that's an emergency. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Hey, was it also in Echuca where they had that issue when the floods were there and then half the town was barricaded and half wasn't? Was that Echuca?
Yeah, yep. That was here. Yeah, well, I actually helped build that levee bank, so it's and I pulled it all down actually as well. But yeah, that was a bit controversial, I suppose. But at the end of the day, everyone's blaming the government and the Shire and all that, and it's typical of any government organisation that, like, two of them don't talk with the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand. So by the time they'd made the decision that they were going to put this levee bank in, it was back to saving vital assets like the sewer system and all that in town. So while we shut off 40 or 50 houses on one side, we protected a sewer system for a whole town, like, and the water system as well. Which, yeah, it's sad, like, because those people on the other side deserve protected too. But the water was already there when we got there. Like, you can't, we couldn't put dirt in there because we couldn't get to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think I saw one of your videos. You were flying over the water. Was that did you mention you do flying or something to me once when we were talking?
Yeah. Do a little bit of flying on me half a day a week off every now and then.
Yeah.
The water was incredible. Like, that was I'm pretty sure that video was over Rochester, and that whole town got pretty much wiped off the map with the water. Like, that was incredible. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, there's no real way of stopping that up there. Like, that's just where it is. It's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Yeah, there's no way you could protect that town.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of a shame, but hopefully we don't get that sort of that rain. And I think it was the heavy rain that caused that, isn't it? From up north.
Yeah. Epilock doesn't have any gates to open, so it's at the mercy of the spillway. Once it spills, it's spilling, and there's no stopping it. There's no letting any water out beforehand to mitigate that or anything. Like, it was probably designed never to fill, I suppose.
Yeah. I might just track back a little bit. So, obviously get a lot of questions from people on how to start out in the industry, how to get onto a machine, and people always have issues because they obviously can't get the experience if no one gives them a chance. And that, just so other listeners that are in that same boat can sort of see what to do, can you offer any advice or talk about how you started out in the machine?
So I don't know whether I was passionate or I was lucky. I used to work for a local earth moving company here, and I hounded that bloke for a job since I was 12, mate. Like, I rang him every weekend or every Friday afternoon to see if he had a job for Saturday and Sunday, and he eventually gave in. And I drove a front end loader for him in his sand and soil yard for a couple of years on Saturdays and Sundays while I was still at school, which was probably frowned upon then, but probably more so now. But he was willing to give us a go, and he did. And we did that. And then I actually started me building apprenticeship because my old man said you got to get a trade. You can't just go digger driving. That's for dumb cunts. You can't do that. So go get a trade. So I've done 9 months of that, and I hated it. Not because I hated the blokes that I was working with or anything. I just hated the job because everywhere you went there was a digger, and I wanted to be in it. So I gave my old man the ultimatum. I said, I'm going to work for this other bloke, like, right or wrong. And I went and seen him, and he said, nah, finish your trade. I said, oh, all right, well, I'm going to the opposition then. Like, I'm going to go see if they'll give me a job. Like, I'm out. I'm getting into it. And he eventually gave in, and started with him. And I suppose the rest is history. We just started off on the shovel and whatnot. And a couple of blokes left. I suppose it was a bit there's a few opportunities there that I probably took with both hands, I suppose. But I did do. He was good about it. He always said, if you want to get in a digger, you have to start practicing in your own time. So every night after work, when we'd knock off, I'd go find whatever was down the back and start driving it. Like, I put in heaps of hours down there, and eventually he'd give me a go on a job one day, and that was it.
That's good. Yeah, persistence is the key, they say, huh?
Yeah, I think, persistence and passion. Like, for as long as I can remember, I wanted to drive diggers, and there was no way known I was going to the grave without doing that.
Yeah. And then I suppose once you do sort of get into it, and then obviously you went out on your own, how did you go about getting your first couple of jobs?
So I was pretty lucky because pretty well known. Like Tucumán is a pretty small town, so it's pretty well known. Like I'd been working for this other bloke for probably 5 or 6 years, driving diggers before I went out on my own, and you know, being local and that, like you sort of knew everyone, and everyone sort of knew who you were, I suppose. So when I went out on my own, I didn't have too much trouble finding work, I suppose, just with those connections.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about so like obviously for other guys that are looking at starting as well, like can you give any advice to them? Like if you had to start all from scratch again, like what would there be anything that you'd change or you can advise guys to try?
I'd probably stick with one machine a bit longer. Really work out what it is you want to do, and not just try and cover all bases so that you could get every job. Like if you say you've got 5 machines, you need to pay for those 5 machines. Whereas if you had to have a day or two off a week and get in the car and go look for a couple of other jobs or whatever for the one machine you had, you could afford to do that because you're not making the repayments on 5. So don't go balls deep straight up. Just stick with one machine and get it working first. And then if you want to go big and put 10 blokes on and have 20 machines, we'll go for it. But yeah, keep one busy first, I reckon, would probably be my piece of advice.
All right. So if you could make any changes to what your business is, what would be something that you'd change?
I don't think it's possible to change it, but if I could change it, I would 100% not have a truck. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. If there's anything that's wrong with your fleet, it's the truck. Like it's it needs tyres, it needs a clutch, it needs this, it needs that. Like it is always something wrong with it, and every time you take it to the shop, it's $5,000. Like it's the most expensive piece of equipment that I've got that makes the least amount of money, but it is there purely for convenience.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with you. I think that's why that helped me make my decision to get rid of all my trucks and just have the machine. Now I just happily give a float driver a job, get him to float my machines when I need them. Because a lot of times especially when I was doing a lot of landscaping, we wouldn't need the truck or we'd hire one in for the day. So my truck would end up sitting there anyway. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm paying this thing off. It's just sitting there. Do I really need that just to float it occasionally? What's the point?
I'm probably a bit luck. Oh, it's not luck. I've worked hard to do it, but uh, I own my truck and trailer, and I don't think if you were paying repayments on a new one, it couldn't physically be possible. It just couldn't. Like you couldn't have your float sitting there. Like my truck might sit there for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, but then the following week it goes every day for a fortnight. Like I can't not have it, but you can't afford to have a brand new one and be making payments on one either because it would just cut into your bottom line way too much.
Yeah. And I think the other thing for me as well is that I hate going to tip sites and looking for tips and driving around and I just hate that, and then having to rush back and then quickly get in the machine, load up again. And then because I slowly stopped doing that. So if you're doing it all the time, I suppose you know where all the tips are, you get to know everything because you're with it all the time. But if you do the occasional job and you've got to, load your tipper and take it, then you got to ring everyone, find out which tips are nearby, what's going at the moment, what's the rate. And then, just for that occasional time that I need a tipper, I just thought I'll just get someone in for the day, and they'll already, because they operate or drive trucks every day, they know the tips already, they know everything. So it's easier just to get someone. And that way I'm sharing the work as well. I'm giving them a job and especially in these quiet times.
Yeah, 100%. And I do the same thing. Even like I'll float my machine to a job, but if I can sit in there and do more digging and pay someone else as a subcontractor to come in with their truck, I'll do that every time because I don't want to sit in it. I hate it. But yeah, I'm more than happy to sit in the digger and load them. Like so, I'll keep them busy at the same deal. Like I would rather give that work away than chase it.
Yeah. And you know what? You did say at the start, you just want to dig.
I do, yeah. I don't know. I thought it would have worn out by now. Like I think I've done, I don't know, nearly 22,000 hours in a digger, and I still enjoy it every day. I get withdrawals after I go on holidays for a week, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people say to me, "Aren't you over it?" And I say, "Yeah, I am a little bit, but once you get back in there and you start doing something or scraping or digging a trench and that, it's just I don't know, it's just a feeling that you can't explain unless you're an operator, I suppose."
Yeah, I think it's Friday-itis, isn't it? You get sick of it by Friday, but by Monday you're itching to get back in, I suppose. Just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It is. Um, so obviously you do post stuff on social media and that. What effect does social media have for you? Do you actually like win any work out of it?
I wouldn't say it helps my business as such. Like I don't think that I've ever won a job from it, but I use it for seeing what other people are doing and how they're attacking jobs, and if there's a better way to do something. I think that's probably the biggest advantage of it. Like we are so far behind Europe with attachments on diggers. Like what they do with a digger over there and what some of their operators can do. Like some of our blokes in Australia wouldn't even be able to fathom that. Like whereas we're stuck in the old school way. Like you look in America, when you look on their social media, they don't even know what a 4-in-1 bucket is. They take a trailer full of attachments to go and do something that you could do with a 4-in-1 bucket on a skid steer. Like, what is wrong with them? I just think it's
Yeah.
interesting to see the way people attack jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, that's I agree, man. That's what I always say that, I don't know if I've actually directly won a job out of it, but it keeps me in people's minds. So people always see what I'm doing, and then people that may be looking for a machine might go, "Oh yeah, that's right. Ivan's got the 5-tonner, or he's got this, or we can call him." So it might just keep me in their mind, or they might, or the same thing, keeping in touch with what's happening and what's new. And that's how. Actually, I was going to ask you this as well. That's how I found those, the rotator, tilt rotators, like the steel wrist ones and Encon and all that. So, do you ever think you'd put one of those on your machine?
Yeah, I think every 9 months I go through this, and I don't have a problem with the upfront cost, of 70 or 80 grand of putting one on, but I do have a problem with the cost of changing over every attachment, which, it doesn't matter what sales rep you talk to, whether it's, a steel wrist one or an Encon one or whatever, they all say, oh, you only need 3 buckets when you've got a tilt rotator, but none of those blokes, they're sales reps, none of them actually do what you do. And, I couldn't do what I do with 3 buckets. Like it's not going to happen. So I think the last time I had a quick rough workout, it was about sort of 55 grand to change every attachment over to suit an Encon, and that's the bit that scares me, I suppose. Yeah, not that I'll say never, but yeah, that worries me.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's a big cost. I mean, it'd be awesome to have that ability to do what they can do, but yeah. I mean, at what cost? And will customers pay any extra for that? I don't know. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you'd get anyone around here to pay extra for it. I mean, until 2 years ago, I was still the only bloke in town that ever had a tilt hitch on a machine under 20 ton in town. Like, like everyone else is just that far behind in technology. Like, I mean, my old boss, I never had a tilt hitch until I went out on my own, and my old boss always said, if you're good enough, you'll never need one. But, geez, I'll never be going back knowing what I know now, ever.
Yeah, 100%, man. The other day I did a job with these plumbers, and they wanted me to add some screenings into their trench, and I just tilted my mud bucket to get it all in there nice and even for them, and without spilling any on the sides. And the look on their faces was like priceless. And I was thinking, do you only know about this now? Like these have been out for ages.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I believe that if you put a tilt rotator on, you wouldn't go back either. I'm 100% believer in that, but I just can't quite justify the cost of it at the minute. Yeah, like I say, if I get to that point where I'm going to buy one more machine before I pull the pin, then it'll get one on it. But yeah, when that is, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a fair comment. And where do you see yourself? So in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see your business going? I know you mentioned a bit earlier that you're going to look at doing some developments and stuff, but if we can just touch back on that.
Yeah, I don't think much will change. I always said I was never going to have an 8-tonner. I always said I was never going to have a float. I always said I'll never have this and I'll never have that. So I really don't know. I mean, ideally, I'd like to think that you could have a 14-ton digger maybe, and no truck, no trailer, no skid steer, no nothing, and just have one machine. But I don't think the workload's here in town for that as such, unless you wanted to just sit on a subdivision all day, every day, and that's probably not me either.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm going to find that out now, because now I'm in that boat. I've just got the 5-tonner, and I'm just sort of floating from, and I'm trying to avoid the subdivisions. So I'm just sort of floating. I think the biggest thing for me is trying to find a home for it between jobs, because it can't always stay at the job till the next one, and I don't want to end up paying a float for nothing. So I think I'm about to find out how that works.
Yeah, we paid rent for 8 years, I suppose. We've only just moved into our own shed, which is great. That's just one less burden to worry about, I suppose. But yeah, so that side of it doesn't bother me if it was in between jobs. But the other side was, if you had a month where you couldn't keep a 14-ton busy, what would you do for that month? So I suppose
Yeah,
that's the other side of it.
yeah, yeah. No, that is true. And like you say, if you're paying that machine off and it's not moving, it's not making money.
100%. The only advantage of it not moving is the fuel bill's not there, because that doesn't tickle anymore.
No, that's right. Yeah, the fuel's gone crazy, very, very crazy. Hey, just a bit of advice to everyone as well. I found something out today. I was filling up diesel where I've been filling up for the last couple of months, and I usually use my rewards card from Woolies and get a bit of a discount. And then today, after all this time, the guy says, "Oh, have you got an RACV card?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, you get another 9 cents off a litre." And I was like,
Oh,
"What?" He just told me. You tell me now.
bleeding.
So yeah, you need to ask. Yeah, they don't tell you. They don't always tell you. You got to ask. And I mean, for us guys that are filling up our fuel cells and stuff, we're taking a fair bit of diesel. So if you can get any type of discount, it's going to help. So use your RACV cards, use your everyday rewards cards. You know what I mean? And all that stuff counts in the end.
Yeah, 100%. I still remember the first 12 months of trading, and my accountant at the time didn't tell me about the fuel tax credits for off-road vehicles and all that sort of stuff. Like, when I found out about that, geez, I was ropeable. Like, could have killed the bloke.
Yeah. You can get a bit of a rebate, so he can backtrack to a certain time limit. So maybe inquire about that, man, because I found out the same thing, and he actually backtracked a little bit. I don't know, I can't remember how far back he can go, but he claimed some of it back again. So yeah, make sure you look into that, guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You've got to. I suppose that's the other bit of advice for people if they do want to go out on their own, is get a good accountant and get someone that is in your industry a bit. It's no good going to the dearest accountant if he doesn't do anything to do with trucks or diggers. Like, go to someone that does that, or does some farm stuff at least or something. Like, don't just settle for one accountant. Go and talk to a few of them and see what work they do. Like, ask them the questions. Don't let them ask you questions, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yep. No, I 100% agree. Yeah, definitely. Because that makes a difference. And I've seen recently on Facebook someone's posting about that, saying, does anyone have an accountant that's got some sort of trucking or machinery background, because they obviously must be in the same boat.
Yeah, and like that was something that I was pretty lucky to get told or taught pretty early. Like, it's no, you can have the best of the best, but if it's not what they do, it's no good to you.
Yeah, and you need to have a good relationship with your accountant, because when you're buying machines, selling machines, you got to be really careful. If you bought machines with that instant asset write-off, as I did, you get a nice shock when you sell the machines, because you have to pay full tax on that. There's a lot of little catches that if your accountant doesn't let you know, you can be shocked with a few things.
Yeah, I think it's really important not only to like talk to your accountant all the time, but you need to be able to have an accountant that you can get on the ground level with. Like, you don't want to have that personal relationship with them. You don't want to be best mates with them. But if they're not the type of bloke that you can sit down and have a beer with, then I think you're dealing with the wrong bloke. Like, you need to be able to talk with them level-headed and be on the ground level with them.
Yeah, no, I agree. What about yourself? Have you got anything that you wanted to add?
No, not really. I just, yeah, like I say, if you are going to have a go on your own, get into it. Don't be scared. Just be smart about it. Don't rush in and try and be a people pleaser, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that loses out of all that. I reckon you've got to know what you want to do and do what you want to do, because you've got to be happy. Like, it's no good buying a skid steer because everyone wants you to have a skid steer, but you hate sitting in it. Like, yeah, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I mentioned that in one of my other podcasts where, um, you got to make sure that, oh, that's right. For when you're starting your own business, I was saying, make sure that you're going to be happy sitting in that machine, because once you get a loan and get that thing going, it's not like you can just, flip it once you've had enough. It's a big process. So you got to be happy to be in that machine for a while.
Yeah, 100%. I think, a lot of people get caught up in the, if you don't have a cat, you haven't made it, or whatever too. Like, you've got to explore brands that give you the service that your business requires, and that, you're happy to sit in. Like, you could go and buy a cat, but it mightn't be as comfy as a Cabelco, or it mightn't be this, or it mightn't be that. It mightn't be suited to your needs as much as a different brand, or they might only be open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and not Saturdays and Sundays when you want to get parts, or you've got to have that relationship. Doesn't matter what brand you're dealing with, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. And if listeners wanted to find you, what's the best way? Have you got a website or somewhere where they can contact you?
I probably do have a website somewhere that some telemarketer sold me or signed me up with or something, but as far as I'm aware, I don't use one of them. So yeah, probably just Instagram, which is just EMBE hire heels Jack, or just Jack Healey on Facebook. Yeah.
All right. I just want to thank all my sponsors before we go. So just a quick shout out to all my sponsors. So I've got Melbourne Tractors. So if you're looking for a Cabelco machine or ASV, come and see those guys. Spartan Machinery, who also sells Zoomline machines. JR Safety Co., Network Finance, the Bole Group, and Nexgen Landscapes. So thanks to those guys for sponsoring my podcast. You can access all my socials. So if you go to the website, earthworkshub.com.au, you can access all my socials from there. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So make sure you go and check out those sites. Spotify and Apple as well for the podcasting. If you want to list your business, so you can also add your business to the website. So it's also a business directory where people within our industry can list their businesses, and we can all find each other. So also, if you're looking for a trade or a service, make sure you go onto the website and look for someone that's already on there. So let's help each other out. It is, as in our conversation, as we were saying just before, it's a tough industry. So if we can help each other out in some way, why not? Jack, I really, really want to thank you for a really good conversation. Very humble, straightforward bloke. If anyone is in Echuca, Moama, make sure you have a chat with Jack, have a beer with him. And
thanks, mate.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on the show.
No dramas, mate. Yeah, all good. And yeah, like I say, if anyone's got any questions or whatever, yeah, just feel free to reach out on any of the stuff we're using or stuff we're doing or whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thanks once again, Jack. Guys, thanks for joining in. Make sure you share the shit out of it, as I always say. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you on the next episode.